Good evening and welcome to the Hamden Online Footy Show. That's right, we are back for another week. There's no footy or netball on this weekend. There's no junior footy or netball this weekend. But we thought, let's have a little bit of a show and let's do something a little bit different. As I say, a very good evening to the great man, Treddy Hill. Hilly, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, going well, Matt. Looking forward to the week off, no doubt, like a few others. But yeah, an exciting show tonight. I'm looking forward to having Chris on and talking all things footy.
Yeah, no, great man sitting to my left, Chris O'Connor, of course, former footballer with Terang, and I'll tell you what, he was a superstar, make no mistake about it. Administrator at the highest level as well, involved in all organisations. He's been involved at the Corangamite Shire as a councillor, and just an all-round good guy, to be honest. He's just a ripper, a pillar of society, as I like to say. And Chris, we say very good evening to you, mate. How are you?
Oh, I've got a lot to live up to, Matty. You've built me up a bit. I hope I don't let you down.
Nah, you won't let me down, mate. Now, listen, we've got a little bit of stuff to get through tonight, and I'm really excited. You kind of reached out a couple of weeks ago now, and you've got, I suppose, a little bit of a vision for football and netball in the region moving forward, which I think is so important, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But before we do, we want to have a look last week, Hilly, of course, our highlights from our match of the day, South Warrnambool and the Portland Tigers. And well, I'll tell you what, Portland took it up to the Roosters in the first half, but South just way too strong in the second half.
Yeah, their third quarter, absolutely unbelievable. 7 goals, I think it may have been, to no score. So that really built them up to have a nice finish in that last quarter. And as we see, James Hussey predominantly playing on the half-forward flank over the course of the day. Spent a little bit of time on the ball, but I think he's just getting that more time in his legs. He has missed a few games throughout the course of the year. And it was good to see this man, Ricky Henderson, have a run around as well. Our first look on Hampton League Live, and the former Adelaide Crow and Hawthorn Hawk, he looked okay.
Yeah, he looked very good, didn't he, Ricky? Yeah, Hussey's an interesting one. They played him D4 for the majority of the game, and looks like he's just getting himself into a bit of fitness. But my eye, to be honest, I reckon he looks in great nick. This little kid here, he had a cracking little game, little Will White, of course. So I think it's game number 3 for Will, and he's just opportunistic. He ended up kicking 4 for the day. He was magnificent, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. 3 in the first quarter, and he was a bit of a barometer up in that forward half in the first quarter. They sort of played him deep. He was really roving really nicely and kicked 3 first quarter goals and ended up with 4 in the game. Toby Jennings, beautiful mark as well. He's some sort of play. Didn't have his best game. I think, South wanted to put a bit of homework into him because he had been pretty strong over the last 6 weeks.
What about Saunders and Newell? They combined all day. Probably one of the best engine rooms, if not the best in the competition, to be honest, the Roosters. They've got plenty of blokes that can run through it, that is for sure. And here's Jakey Edwards for the Portland Tigers. He had a pretty solid Saturday afternoon as well. And look at that, just steps around. I know they were disappointed, Sammy Thompson at the time, but they kicked a nice goal. And, they didn't go away. They didn't give up the ghost, did they, Portland? Like, they fought the game out and ended up losing pretty comfortably. But all in all, I think they're on the right path, the Portland Tigers.
Yeah, I reckon you're right, Matt. And I think, too, the inclusion of Jake Wilson in his first game, a big key position player that's played Sandfield brand footy. I think he's only going to be better for the run, and that's probably where they lack, is just a couple of really key position players. And, he was floating between full back and deep forward, and he would have been better for the run as well.
And a couple of big injuries too, of course. So there's Tommy Sharp just slotting one on the left. He played well. He's probably Portland's best on the weekend. A couple of really key injuries though, wasn't it? Harry Lee goes down with a knee injury. He was very, very sore on that knee too. So he looks like he's going to miss a few weeks of football. And the other one was big Harrison Hampshire. Of course, he went out with a displacement little finger.
Yeah, it was a compound fracture.
Fracture.
The bone was sticking out of the hand, so a really nasty injury. And a real barometer. I'll tell you what, I liked Will White in this goal before too. That was Liam Mueller, kicked a really nice one. But watch this for Will White. 60 metres out, just bombed it inside forward 50, and the beautiful Shane Warne Rongan just to spin into the goals, and that was a highlight.
When you're on, isn't it? When it's your day, it's your day. It doesn't matter. The ball will just bounce how it has to. Braden Becks, he was in good nick too. His brother Shannon. Now, it's an interesting one for the Roosters because, to be honest, I'd prefer to see Shannon Becks out of the deep forward post. I think that's going to be more dangerous moving forward. But they had to use him and Sammy Kelly through the ruck. Is there another ruck option, do you think, before the season ends, Hilly? Because I think that's the area they need to possibly find someone.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. Obviously, Ollie Bridgewater was put down into the twos over the course of the weekend. They've sort of gone the Geelong system, I guess, with Blitzarv sort of plays on that wing and Radikalea starts in the centre bounces, and that was sort of what Kelly was doing, starting in the centre bounces and then running Shannon Becks off the wing. So I'm not sure what their best combo is. Tim Ryan's in that forward line, so obviously he's played key forwards, kicked 80 goals for Kalora Nurat a few seasons ago in the WDFNL, so I'm not sure what their best lineup looks like, but I agree, I like Becks deep forward. But nice luxury to have him run around in the ones as well.
Here's little Archie Stevens. I thought he was in our votes on the weekend too. A good young kid with plenty of ability. Used the football well. Every chance he gets, his efficiency rate is just second to none, and he's got a bright future, the young kid, hasn't he?
He's tough. For a bloke who hasn't got much meat on him, you know, he's very slim and very slender. He goes into the contest hard, so I like the look of Archie.
Just Chris O'Connor, how would you go with video footage like this each and every week, mate?
I love it. Actually, I'm amazed. It's a really good quality, isn't it?
It is.
It's fabulous quality. They're doing a great job. And I know we was a bit different in our day, Matty, as you know, but I'm sure we would have survived. I mean, you adjust, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, you do. Let's talk about Matthews Petroleum Player of the Day and also Pit Stop Menswear MVP, 3-vote winner. And, little Willie White, only a young kid, just turned 16 years of age. And this kid, you kind of would have looked at him on the weekend and thought he'd been running around for a year or so. He was just looked comfortable, didn't he, Hilly?
Yeah, he looked really comfortable, and I'll tell you what, he's going to make it hard to get out of that side. I think just the role he played, that sort of small forward who can take an overhead mark and kicked a couple of really good goals. So really worthy of our Player of the Year award, 3 votes, and it was a tough one because there was some really good contributions by the Roosters, Shannon Becks, Josh Saunders. Archie Stevens and the like, so it was a tough one for Scotty Carter to do the votes, but he really liked the work of Will White.
And of course, he won the Lucas Brothers Snag of the Day, so a $50 voucher too for little Willie White. Look at this one. We saw it earlier and just got the bouncing through and goes through for a goal. That was sensational. And Pete Harris and the crew down there at Lucas Brothers Butchers, they do a magnificent job. $50 meat voucher going his way too. I spoke to Pete Harris yesterday and he's really pumped with the way the Snag of the Week's worked. It's going sensational. So,
absolutely. I had to laugh with Will White in the after-game interview as well. Alan Blackburn, who was our boundary rider, said to Will, obviously not 18 yet, so what are you going to do with the Matthews Petroleum petrol voucher? And he goes, I might just hold on to it and give it to my sister Georgia for her 21st birthday. So smart man, young Will.
Clever young kid, opportunistic, that is for sure. Now, what about the Southwest Tool of the Week, Hilly? This is growing in stature each and every week, and have a listen to this.
The Saints taking on the Warrnambool Football Club. Ants Marnie, what's happening out there, buddy?
Yeah, mate, it's developed into a very tight contest now. There's sort of 12 minutes into the third quarter. Hasn't been a goal kick, so it's still 10-9, 69 to 25-17.
We love Ants, and we're not poking fun at you, mate, but he just tries to keep everything on the level, does Ants. He doesn't want to look like he's pushing his beloved Koroyd Saints too much, but... we thought, when he kind of said, the game's on in earnest here, and I thought I expected it to be a couple of goal margin, but right. It hadn't changed. 10 goals 9 to 2 goals 6 or something. She was in it. But anyway, $50 voucher, all thanks to Paddy Lane and the crew out at Southwest Tools. Coming your way, Ants. What do you reckon Ants would be like on the tools, Chris?
I don't know. He's a pretty tough operator. We used to, not hit it off that well. To be honest, back in the old days, I think Ants would have a few stories to tell, but I think we ended up about even. So
he's very, very good at the auctioneering, though. I can tell you that he is a master at that. Does a wonderful job out at the sale yards. He's a good fella, is Ants, and he is our Southwest Tool of the Week winner. $50 voucher, all thanks to Paddy Lane and the crew out there as well, which is magnificent. Let's have a look at the other highlights from round 9, of course, last week. Cobden took on Terang Mortlake, and the Bombers. They are playing some great football, and I'm looking forward to seeing them, Hilly. So after the bye, we're going out to call the North Warrnambool Cobden game. First look at the Bombers, but gee whiz, their last 5 or 6 weeks have been brilliant. Yeah,
they've won 3 of their last 4, and I reckon they're a bit of a sniff. If there was anyone outside the top 5 looking to play finals, if they continue with their form, I think they're certainly a sniff. The Bombers, really good game. I think they had control of this game in the first half. Terang Mortlake made a real run at it in the third quarter and got pretty close at 3/4 time, but then they ran out the game pretty well, the Cobden Bombers. And as we said last week, good to see players like Hart and Coronius really stepping up and playing some good footy. They've been around for a little while and doing some great things. And from all reports, the ruckman Mark Marriott, their recruit, who's played some NAB Cup footy, sensational.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him, to be honest. And as I said, I just really can't wait to see Cobden. I love that outfit too. I love it when they wear the old bomber jumper, isn't it? What are they? The Beetle? Is
Yeah,
it?
the Beetle jumper.
The Beetle jumper. It's absolutely magnificent. Right, let's have a look at the next game now. It is North Warrnambool and the Hamilton Kangaroos. And the Eagles, they are just marching along nicely at the moment. I don't know whether you've had a look today, Hilly, but has Tyrone Vickery got the clearance in?
Yeah, but I've had a look, and there was an article in the Warrnambool Standard saying that all done and dusted, so he'll be around for
Right.
4 or 5 games following the break, and the first one will be most likely the Cobden game in our match of the day in a couple of weeks' time. But, they've still got Dylan Parrish to come in, but I really like the North Warrnambool Eagles at the moment. They've got some great kids, they're experienced players, are getting better. Matthew Wines has had another career best season. He's been sensational, and lots to like about the Eagles.
Yeah, they're just building nicely and getting the job done, aren't they, at the moment? I reckon, and got a great coach in Adam Dowie, who just is very, very clever, very smart, knows how to build a team up and stuff. And I think for a team, and there's Jet Birmingham, he's the added bonus for mine at the moment. He can't get a game at the Greater Western Victorian Rebels, which really surprised me because we've seen him a couple of times this year and he has been absolutely magnificent. He's had 35 against Koroit that day.
Yeah, he's had a great season, a really good wingman as well, and I think a bit of extra bulk certainly, has helped him a little bit with the contested footy this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the next game. Camperdown took on the Port Fairy Seagulls, and well, it was the big Flash Gordon show again. Big Sammy Gordon kicked 10 goals. He is absolutely low flying at the moment. Full credit to him. He's just a great target. There he is, the big fella, and he's just a goal kicking machine. And look, he's great to watch. He just brings players into the competition, and he's just going to be hard to stop, isn't he?
Oh, well, he's leading the goal kicking now, 2 in front of Sam Dobson from Koroit. He's kicked, 19 in 3 or 4 weeks with a couple of big hauls. I'll tell you what, looking at Maskell Medal, I know forwards don't predominantly win it, but I reckon he'll feature okay. The 3 games we've done at Camperdown, obviously the game on the weekend, you look at probably get 3 votes. The game we did against Hamilton, he kicked 9, you'd imagine he'd get 3 votes. And the game against North Warrnambool, which would be one I reckon he'd vote pretty well as well, kick 7. So I reckon he'd be up there in the Maskell voting pretty early.
Yeah, and there's big Willie Robot, great bit of palm work too. They just got off to a fly camp and they were just too good for the poor old Port Fairy Seagulls, who are just going at the moment. It's going to be a long back half of the year, I reckon, for the Seagulls. I kind of mentioned on Saturday, Hilly, about the point system, and it's a battle for the poor old Seagulls at the moment. That is for sure, to get plays underneath that points, which I think is 40 or 42. So it's a tough gig.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we spoke at length about the system, the point system. Is it working all that well? It's probably another discussion for another night, but it probably hasn't helped Port Fairy this season. But I think they're showing improvement each week. They're a young side. I think they've had a turnover of 18 or 19 players from the 2019 season. So it's going to take a little bit of time to build that synergy and play under the game style that Winnisimbi wants them to play under too. So.
And sometimes it's a confidence thing, isn't it? When your confidence is low and it just takes a little bit to build it back up, but it can happen, that is for sure. Let's have a look at the final game, Koroit and Warrnambool. Generally, these games are always pretty tight out of Victoria Park in Koroit, but the Saints, they were just too good, and they are marching along very, very nicely at the moment. I reckon Chris McLaren would be happy with the output. Since that North Warrnambool game, I think they've just lifted it up a notch, haven't they, Hilly?
Yeah, you look at their goal scorers and their better players over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it's been someone different. So I think they're playing a really good team brand footy, sharing amongst the goals. They're not leaving it to Sam Dobson to kick it back. Hawes is spending some time up there. McIntyre, and I want to talk about McIntyre later on when we talk about our team of the year as well, because I reckon he could be nearly a lock in there at this stage on half-forward flank. But just playing a great team brand. The young ones are really stepping up to the occasion. The O'Sullivan trio with Liam and Jack and Paddy, they're all playing some good footy as well. So, they're looking dangerous again. And there's, Nagorka, who's stepped up as well, another year older and a few more extra games under his belt, playing some good footy as well.
Gee whiz, when you talk about Maskell Medal, this bloke's got to be in it too. Big Sammy Dobson, he's just in everything. He's just his fitness levels blows me away, to be honest. And good to see Big Heusler back too for the other Koroit Saints, spending the majority of the time up forward since he's returned from the appendix coming out in that Hilly. So, all in all, they are building nicely, and they go in at the halfway mark. I reckon Chris McLaren will be pretty happy.
And they've still got Corowa out as well, so you chuck him in hopefully in the back end of the season. It's dangerous.
Well, that's where they've got that size, haven't they? You know, Corrigal Hoysley, they've got the big boys,
Couch.
they've got the tall timber. Yeah. So that's, you know, but then North Warrnambool, of course, they got the Wines boys and they chuck in Big Ty Vickery.
Parish,
Exactly.
Jordan Dillon can run down on the forward line as well. So I think, both sides, if they had their best teams up, I think they're the best two sides in the comp in my mind.
And the Roosters, though, on the flip side, are probably a little bit more of a smaller running, good high possession side that use the football well and got a very strong midfield. So it's going to be an interesting run home, that is for sure. That was the highlights from last weekend. Well, we're going to get to the highlights of this week now because Chris O'Connor, our very special guest, of course, I give him the pump up at the start of the show. But Chris, you've been involved in football, netball. You've been involved at the council level and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose you're always looking at the big picture, mate, aren't you?
Oh well, Matty, you sort of try and have a say in the future, I guess. So that's sort of the reason. I'm here tonight. Obviously, we just sort of love our footy and. The whole area, from time to time needs to look at how it's going and how the teams are going and how the clubs are going, and because at the end of the day we want some good competitive football amongst our leagues, and that's what I'm concerned about. So if you sort of have a think about the future, you have some say in the way it rolls out. If you just let it happen, and it's sort of like there's usually a catastrophe and there's some really disappointed people. So I think if you can help plan it a little bit to some degree. It's probably you're looking at a better future.
Now, you've come up with a little bit of a blueprint of how you see football and netball in the region. And I've had a little bit of a look at this, and it's brilliant, to be honest. I love it. I love the thought process that's gone into it, to be honest. It's like people are going to jump up and down. People are going to go, oh, it's great. Like this is what happens when you put things out like this. It's all about discussion and getting people, I suppose, to be talking about stuff. So let's have a look at the blueprint. We've got it here now. So Chris, just take us through the way you see this being set up.
Yeah. So obviously this is not going to happen as it sits here now. We'll make that sort of clear, but it's a talking point. So sometimes you just need to put something out there so you can just start to get the juices flowing, so to speak. And I sort of looked at what we might, relegation, those types of things. And I think there's such a difference between the two, the Warrnambool District and the Hampden League at the moment. It's probably not realistic. You just look at North Warrnambool, how long they've been in the league and what a great club they are. And yet it's taken them all that time and they're on the verge of winning a premiership. So
yes, it's virtually 23.
Relegation's just kind of not going to happen. But so I looked at a way of maybe sharing, teams sharing players, and it's difficult where you could have a Hampden League player, a Hampden League side have maybe a squad of 25, and then they link up with district league clubs. But there's a sort of a real hierarchy there that it just doesn't sit really well with me anyway. Where you've got the senior club and the sort of the junior club that's just there for the spare players. So I think quite possible we could combine clubs, and in this model here we actually combine some Hampden League clubs with some district league clubs, and I'd have to be, I'll be straight with you. I don't know the culture and the links with some of the clubs, particularly down around Warrnambool. So I've just done my best just to hook them in where I thought they might kind of fit. And we've looked at. I know at Terang we did a survey about 3 years ago with a club called Jacinta Wareham, Kieran McKenzie, myself in, and asked us to do some work on the next 5 or 10 years, and we've gone through all of the local shire statistics and the schools and the clubs that we've currently got. And the fact is that with say the Power, Terang Mortlake, Cobden and Camperdown and throw in Timburn and Panmure to a degree. I mean, there's just physically not going to be enough players. It's just not going to happen, and so change is inevitable.
And that just comes over time. I remember having this conversation with Bernie Harris a few years ago now, and he explained. And I don't know the numbers, so I'll get this wrong, but from Noorat back to Terang, there was something like 20 farms back in his day, and now there's something like 3 or 4, you know, because people have just brought farms next to them, and so there's not as many people obviously in these regions as there was back in the
look,
day.
you know, we had the big Catholic family, so to speak. We were having people had, you know, 5 and 6 and more kids. These days, a lot of those farms have been run by New Zealanders that haven't any great love, particularly for our football for a start. There's a lot of backpackers come in. There's a lot of short-term workers come into our areas. So no, the demographics suggest that it can't stay the same. And so, as I said to you earlier, if you can sort of be aware of what's happening around you and maybe have some say in the future, you can build a great future, and that's sort of, this is just sort of putting something up for people to pick at, and they'll knock it and pull it apart.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine, you know.
So just let's bring the graphic back up, okay, and let's just go through this. So you're looking for Terang, Mortlake and the Power to combine, Cobden and Camperdown to combine. I love the name too, the Lakers. Hamilton Kangaroos, Portland Tigers stand alone. Warrnambool stand alone.
Yeah.
South Warrnambool and Rovers, which could possibly maybe be Warrnambool and Rovers, I don't know, because they're obviously a little bit quicker. Koroit and Port Fairy to merge, which would be massive. North Warrnambool with Russells Creek. The Eastern Blues, now this incorporates Pairmuir, Naranda, Allansford and Timboon.
And I've got the graph in front of me, but yeah, keep talking. And then we got Mirabale.
And then Mirabale, Denny's Collegiate, which has got that, it's kind of like the West Warrnambool kind of side, isn't it? Which I think would be fantastic. So the whole idea there, Chris, is obviously Division 1, which would kind of be our handball league at the moment, that kind of level.
Yep.
And then Division 2 would be like the District League senior level. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, it's just players play, you know, where they land, but there's no district or Hamden League anymore. It's all the one club. So it's just like, I mean, if you go out to Power now, there's you know, when I played out there was 7 clubs, and they're all now one club. Yeah. And so it's and I'm sure they all feel part of it. I mean, all those Glenormiston players that I played with are out there of a Thursday night loving it. You know, and they're rubbing shoulders with Calora people, if you could believe it. You know?
And you would never have thought that 20 years ago.
Maybe people my age struggle a little bit with the old allegiances, but I mean, it's really about the kids and the young people that play, and the netball would work in really well with this system, where it is quite easy to run double courts and plenty of games. So, look, I think, you know, I wouldn't want to get hung up on the hierarchy about Hamden and District League. I think it's just probably be, you know, to be
a whole new comp.
Western, you know, Southwestern, you know, whatever, and a whole new comp.
Southwest Coast.
Yeah, and Chris, I really like the idea and the fact that we've got to look long term, because you look at a lot of you know, sides, you know, reserve sides and numbers. The numbers just aren't there like they were years ago, and I think there's a lot more for kids to do and so forth as well. So we're not seeing, you know, a lot of those kids just playing footy in footy season or cricket in cricket season. There's other opportunities there as well, and you know, we make mention of it quite a bit. You know, you look at the Friday paper and you look at the reserve sides. You know, there might be 12 under 18s, or there might be 15 reserves. I think, you know, we've got to look at those different options to, you know, ensure that we have, you know, games that are played with as many people as we can.
And then there'd be some people sitting back, you know, like, you know, some of these clubs, like Camperdown and Cobden, that'd be sitting back there going, "There's no bloody way we're going to merge with them or whatever." But you got to be mindful. It's not about what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years. It's about what's going to happen in the next 15 years. You know, like and making these competitions viable, making the football clubs viable, and that's what we've got to look at, don't we? You know, like I've said it for years, and you know, South Rovers and Russells Creek, who dislike each other. You know, and I was a Russells Creeker. You know, like it's kind of pointless. It's silly that they're 50 metres between 2 ovals there. They should be looking to merge, and even if they went with Warrnambool or something, I don't know. And the
I wouldn't get hung up on the who merges with who. It's not really about that at this point. It's about sort of talking about what the options might be. And as I said, that won't come to pass, what I put up there. But you know, the likes of say Terang, Mortlake, you know, Terang, Mortlake, Power. You know, you'd probably, you know, you might play your games and at the Mortlake and Terang and do all your social at Nurut, which is so well set up. Do all your training and social at Nurut and Central, and I mean these things have got to be put up there just so you can think about it and throw them around, because as I say, things can't continue on the way they have in the past. And, you know, change is inevitable, and if you can have a say in it, it's good.
Yeah, it's just numbers are the key, I reckon, now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, from a sponsorship point of view as well, you know, looking long term, you look at what
Absolutely.
COVID's done over the last 18 months, Chris, you know, how many clubs are going to be, you know, viable over the next 5 or so years if things continue to be the way they are, and, you know, businesses are shutting or they're not as busy as what they were. So that sponsorship dollar
Right,
makes it
Hilly.
extremely hard as well.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right, Hilly, and look, you know, you want to be having fun, don't you? You want to be having.
Yeah, of
There's
course you
nothing
do.
worse than you know, Thursday nights. We've all been there. You're ringing up people to, can you come and play? You know, we're really short. I mean, you're dragging guys that, you know, often really rather not. And why, you know, get back to the fun. Have clubs that are numbers that kind of want a game and are there to play. And
well, I know, talking to Darren Stenhouse during the week, who's coaching the twos over at Port Fairy, doing a great job, but he said you feel like you're not coaching nowadays. You know, it's more like just management, because you're trying your absolute darnest each Thursday night to get a team on the park for Saturday. You know, so it's actually just like a management kind of role.
And there's kids suffering some burnout, you know, that have been pushed up from 12s to 14s and then up to 14s to 16s and then up to under 18s and then filling in the seconds. You know, you've got some of these kids that have played, you know, 100 games when they're in their under 16s. And, you do wonder why there's a drop off around that under 18 age, and I think that's part of it. That some of those kids have played a lot of footy.
Yeah, and you
especially
lose
when
that
they played twice a week.
bit of interest. And then it brings us on to, I reckon, the TAC Cup, which I've been a big one on. I just reckon they've got to really look at it. I reckon that TAC Cup season should start in March. First week of March. These are young, fit kids. Okay, get them on top of the deck early when the weather's good. Let them have a run around there when we've still got the good weather, and get their season over with. So we should be nearly getting to the end of their season right now. Play their 10, 12 games, get it over with. Play the Vic Country Championships over 2 or 3 weeks, whatever they want to do. But then let's get the kids back in the back half of the year. You see the kids then playing senior footy, which I think is a big bonus, and it's going to be a big bonus for recruiters. And you can see the coverage that you get now at your local football, so you can kind of sit on. If you're a recruiter, you can jump online, you can have a look, and you can see what some of these kids are doing and how they're playing. So it's all got to go in together. Where do we go from here, Chris? Because if I was you, I'd be prepared to. Lucky we've got no footy this weekend, mate, because you know what's going to happen.
Turn the phone off.
You're just. I remember 15, 20 years ago. I remember just doing a relegation article. It was just a throwaway kind of thing. We just kind of come up with it with a standard, and gee whiz, people jumped up and down at that. It was just suggestions. It was just putting it out there, and this is what I love about this, mate. It's all about just putting some stuff out there.
Discussion point.
That's it.
Yeah, I've got a fairly thick skin, so that'd be.
So have I.
Won't worry me what anyone thinks about it. And as I said, that model, I've got haven't got a good enough understanding of what clubs might work with what. But that's. I mean, we don't want to get hung up on that sort of stuff at this stage. It's around concepts. It's around you know what's possible.
I think, you know, like we need to get maybe a working... Yeah, if people sit down in the next 12, 18 months, 2 years, and they go, look, you know, this has got some merit. We need to sit down, we have to look at the future, I suppose, along with AFL Western District. They could probably be the ones that drive this, to be honest, and get input from everyone.
It'd be good to get some leadership around, you know, at that higher level to help bring things like this to pass.
And get some people on there, you know, like with a bit of nous, like yourself, Chris. You know, Bernie Harris, the name I mentioned before. You know, get people on there that have been involved. Get administrators that have been involved for a long period of time at football clubs. You know, that see the ins and outs, the daily runnings, the musings of footy clubs and that. So it's interesting.
I think the key is, you know, we look at probably the future of 5 years, but we've got to look at 20 years, 25 years, and what our competition, our region looks like. We're not a huge growth area down here. You know, we probably have been in the last 18 months, but in comparison to Geelongs and those sort of types, Chris, we just don't see the people coming in. And I guess the age group of running in and playing footy and netball is probably not as what it was many years ago.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And look, a lot of our young ones go away for education. They're hard to get back, particularly at that early stage. And that's fine. I mean, we want our kids to go and enjoy the world and be educated. We love them to come back, but it does drag those numbers away from time to time.
And you know, Hamilton and Portland might have the opportunity to get Tirrandara or, you know, I don't know, Cavendish or someone involved as well, you know, which might in turn help their club as well, which I think is sensational. Chris, great idea, mate. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I appreciate you coming in. It takes a bit of balls, to be honest, to throw your name behind something, and I'm glad you have. And I must admit, when I spoke to you on Sunday, I was thinking there's no way he's going to come in, but you've proved me wrong, mate. You're an absolute freak. Now, listen, before we wrap things up, Hilly, our great sponsors at McDonald's, we've got the Scotty Stewart Rolling Team of the Year. So we've got Timmy McPherson penciled in at fullback. We've got Toby Jennings in the gut, Sammy Dobson at centre half forward. We've got Big Will Gordon and Will Kane as the big key forwards. Come on, let's slot a few more in. I just need to get that over there. So they are slotted in those positions, okay? Right, who do we want to add?
Yeah, I like
Hilly?
Tim McIntyre.
Had a
Form's
good
been
year.
terrific at Croydon, and I think a half-forward flank would be, as we lose our great sponsorship merch, but I think Tim McIntyre on a half-forward flank sits pretty comfortable with me. He's had a great year running up that ground and kicking goals for Croydon, so...
I'm going to throw another one. What about Matty Field from Camperdown on a wing, mate?
Yes.
I reckon he's as good as we'll get at the moment on a wing. He is in sensational form. And I reckon we have to chuck in Ewell and Saunders, mate, because, gee whiz, they're brilliant together, aren't they?
Yeah.
So are you happy if I slot them in we're going to slot them on ball?
Yeah, put them on ball.
Now, who's going to be ruckman?
That's a great question. We might have to look at that after the next round, I reckon, because we've had some quality ruckmen.
And we need a centre-half back, mate. So you have a think about it, Hilly.
Yeah, we've got a couple of weeks to go over it. I like Horsler, but Horsler's probably playing a little bit more forward at the moment. So
Yep.
I don't know whether you can have Kane, Gordon, Horsler in that forward line. Jared Lewis is probably another one that comes into calculations. Wines, they've all had great years in that forward line. But we might sleep on it. We'll add a few more over the next edition.
What about Big Juddles Dylan in the ruck? He's had a good year.
Yeah, he has.
I'm
had a good
slotting
year.
him in. It's a
That's right. We
rotating
can always
team.
change, and don't be offended if you get taken out. But,
No,
Juddles has been good.
Yeah, no offence taken here. It's just only me and Hilly. It's only our thoughts. So income. So this week we're adding Matty Field, Timmy McIntyre, Jordan Dillon, Liam Mule, Joshy Saunders.
Yep, like it.
I reckon that's good. I'm happy with that. You happy with that, Chris?
Sounds good to me.
All thanks to Mickey D's, of course. We thank them, and it's great to see those boards getting out to the clubs as well, seeing them on game day, which I think is absolutely brilliant. We must thank McDonald's, our great sponsors, of course. SunGold FM flavoured milk. Look at that football. They are every ground now, the senior football. It's got that magnificent logo on, which looks sensational. Of course, Chittix Pies, Hilly. They've got the new round pie coming back, which I think is just so exciting. And we've got the pie night coming up.
Couple of weeks' time.
Out at Lindock Living.
Can't
So
wait.
Doreen Power and, of course, Sue Casti and that. Looking forward to getting out there as well and seeing those guys. It is absolutely magnificent. And we must thank Powercore, Timmy Rourke and the crew. They are absolutely sensational. Great to have them on board, that is for sure. Chris O'Connor, we appreciate you coming in, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Hilly, you have a great weekend off, mate. What's on? Anything exciting?
I might go down to Catland on Friday night and see the Mighty Cats against Essendon, and then a really quiet weekend, I think.
Yeah, we've got a little...
Talking 8 degrees, I think, Saturday. Is that right?
Is that? Yeah, no good. The next couple of days, Friday afternoon, it kind of cuts up. So batten down the hatches this weekend, that is for sure. That wraps it up. We hope you've enjoyed the Online Footy Show this week.